Who's going to start, Simon? Me or you?
Have we started? This is exciting, Alan. Yeah, well, I'll start. And I think, the thoughts that have been going through my mind over the last couple of days have been that the government and Boris, God bless him, is doing an announcement every day to keep the public informed. And this broadcast is fast becoming the antidote to all of the doom and gloom. And one thing that's really important to PopUp since we started in 2012 has been that we just want to spread a bit of positivity here. And rather than let this thing take over and get drawn into all the things that we can't do, I'd love us to focus on what can we do and offer as much help as we can to people that whose jobs are at risk, people that have started a business that are now figuring out how does it work and what do we do, and people that have had a small business for some time or been self-employed for a while. You know, what is it that we can do to help and support and create a platform where we can share ideas and help each other get through this in terms of, you know, entrepreneurship, starting small businesses, and, you know, adapting and innovating and so on. So I'm absolutely delighted, Alan, that you're here tonight, because I fumbled my way through Facebook Live last night. And it's great that you're here. And look, I know you've got an interesting perspective on this from your experiences in 2008. You know, think back to 2008 when there was the financial crisis. If there's one person I know that would be rubbing his hands thinking, I know what's the hardest time possible and the most ridiculous time to start a business, it would be 2008, Alan Donegan. What was your experiences, Alan, and why do you think they might be relevant now for us to hear?
Well, actually, I did not choose to start a business in 08. It wasn't like I thought, let's start it at the hardest possible time. I got fired from my last job. So I think it's one of those situations where something happens to you, and that thing, whatever it is, whether it's an economic downturn, a lockdown, you get fired from your job, things will happen to you. And it's about how you react and respond to those things that are important. And back in 08, I got fired and I was thinking, what am I going to do with my life? How do I want to live? I started looking for jobs, couldn't find a single job that I particularly wanted to do. There weren't exactly many on the market, but I couldn't find any jobs I actually wanted to do. So I decided to build my own business. And it was born out of necessity. And quite often the toughest situations and things, the best things, come out of those moments where you face adversity and you have to do something about it. And that's kind of where I want to go with today's message, is there is a whole host of things that are going to happen right now that you have no control of, none whatsoever. I can't control what's happening outside. I can't control what the government is doing. All I can control is my reaction to it and what happens to me. And I think back in 08, I was thinking, I just need to take control of my own financial destiny rather than wait for anyone else to support me.
And I think, like, the question that's triggered, because this is fascinating for me, obviously that was around the time that we met, actually, and the genesis of the business that we created, which is, maybe we'll get to that another time, but this is the bit of the story that I've never asked you and that we've never really talked about. I was wondering that when you're surrounded by, you know, the media, newspapers, TV, you know, friends, family, former colleagues, neighbors, the world around you I remember that time very clearly, because I lost my job in that time as well. What was that like, in the sense of how did you keep yourself in a positive mindset? I know how important that is to starting and running, growing any businesses. You got to wake up each other or you sleep again. And with all that negativity that was around at that time of the crisis, what was your strategy for getting yourself in a good place?
Well, actually, I think that's one of the biggest challenges that I faced back then. Was I was surrounded by a bunch of people who were saying, the economy's gone down, your business won't be successful. There was a bunch of very negative people, that I was surrounding myself with, and it was draining the energy out of me. So I think let's look at this in different ways. One is the environment and the community that is around you. At the moment with lockdown, that's probably going to be a virtual community, but the people that you surround yourself with. So if you're listening to this message, if you're searching online for people who want to actually actively do something about it and are positive, you'll find that. If you want to search online for the doom and gloom mongers, you'll find that, and you can happily get engaged for as long as you want about that stuff. So I think you've got the people that surround you. The second thing is the questions that you ask yourself on a daily basis. So if you ask yourself, if I'd have got stuck in 08 going, why did it happen to me? Why did I get fired? This is the worst possible time I could ever launch a business. I'm never going to make money. And I started asking bad questions that focused me on reasons, I would have fallen to pieces. But actually, I asked more positive questions, which were, how can I make money? What can I sell? What can I do that adds value to other people? And I asked this bunch of questions that kept me focused every day on moving forwards. And I think that's what I really love. If there's one thing I could give our audience based on this, it would be, let's come up with a bunch of questions you can ask yourself every day and focus yourself forwards on what you can actively do. Don't focus on what you can't do. Don't focus on what's going wrong. Focus on what's possible for you.
Yeah, I think that's a great message. And I think, when I woke up Monday morning and that we had, those 10 events that were cancelled, which is a 6-figure impact on our business. And we're only a small business, and it took me a couple of hours. I was drawn into what was happening. But I think what's happened over the last couple of days with the team, and I've noticed there's been lots of different attitudes and behaviours that we've seen amongst ourselves and amongst the participants that have been in our courses and so on. My head's in the space of, look, I know this is super tough, and these are things that we never faced before. But I think I'm not going to let this thing, do stuff to us and our business and my family and so on. The focus here is, what can we do, rather than what's going to happen? What can we do, and how we can take control of our own destiny? So there's someone in our support group said today, they unfortunately lost their job today, and I think there's a whole bunch of people up and down the country that's happening right now. And she said, is this the time to start something? Is this the time to focus on the ideas that I had in the back of my mind? Because I know I have my job, I don't know what to do. Is it the right moment? I'm not sure. What do you think on that? I've got a view on that, but if someone's saying, I've lost a job today, is it the right time to start a business, or should I wait? What's the in mind about this?
So I think the key point on that is actually, is there ever a right time? And there are obviously better times than others, but timing is not something you can particularly control. You just have to get going. And if you look historically, some of the most resilient and best businesses were formed around the 08 crash. There's an incredible number of very successful businesses that were built out of that time period. It's going to be tough. But the one thing that I took from it is that if I can build a business at that time period, I'm going to survive when the good times are good. So if you can launch it now, if you can start now whilst you have time, then do it. Because if you can build it now, you are going to survive when the times are good, and even better. And I think the one thing we do have, whilst we're all being locked down in our rooms and our homes, is time. You've got time. My question is, what are you going to invest it in? And there are so many distractions and so many options. You could be watching Netflix, you could be watching Hulu. They've launched Disney Plus now. I could be watching endless streaming of Marvel movies continuously, or I could improve my skills.
Don't do that, Alan. Don't do that. Look, so I just want to pick up on a couple of comments that have come through on the thread. So there's a couple of things in here which I want to draw, because Brucey Farrell. So we met Brucey in Taunton. Brucey, I'm so glad that you found the post, and I started the live stream. It didn't work. I went to my personal one, we shared it on the page. And somewhere in the ether, you're floating. I was concerned about you floating around Taunton internet for a little while. Glad you found us tonight. So Brucey's comment is, it's time to reinvent yourself. And that's really interesting, because Brucey is the most talented magician I've seen up close. So he came along to talk at our event in Yeovil a few months after we first met him, and produced a £20 note out of a Snickers bar that was wrapped up, and it was my £20 note with the signature on it. And I stared at him blankly for about 10 minutes. How do you do that? If there's anyone that can magic a business, but the thing that I want to talk about specifically is that Amy Ivy, hi Amy, thanks for putting your post in there, and it's linked to what Bruce said. She's done this nightmare with walks, house sitting. So many holidays are being cancelled, as you can imagine, which means house sits are being cancelled too, which is my biggest earner. I think one of the biggest challenges that we're going to face about tonight, one of them is our mindset and how to get ourselves ready in the face of all this adversity. What's the thought processes that we could go through so that we stay into the day with a purpose and excited for the challenge? Was the emotion that I've been feeling, and I'm trying to break down the reason why that is. I'll share that with everybody. But I think the other issue that we're going to face is, if your business is one, like hospitality, like travel, Amy's business, which is the dog sitting, ball walking, and so on, how do we reinvent ourselves? What's the strategy? What are the thought processes? What's the creative stuff that we need to do that's going to give us the power to adapt and change and sell and so on? I wondered if you had any thoughts on
that. So I think when this first happens, you're going to have the shock, as we did at PopUp, of holy insert expletive, our business has changed. So all of our clients, quite a large percentage of our clients, immediately cancelled events. Sounds like Amy is having lots of holidays cancelled, so people don't need dog sitters and dog walkers. There was another comment in there saying that people, he had an old person focused business and they were all quarantined. And to start with, you're going to have that moment of pain, and then all of your business disappears. And then it's the question of, do you continually focus on it disappearing, or do you focus on what you can do next? So I was speaking to, there's a lady called Kez who came to our Swindon event. She's a photographer, and we were having a chat earlier this week about her business and how she grows it. And I set her a challenge, which has helped her. So I wanted to set the same challenge for all of the people in the support group, Amy and all the others who are having problems, and actually our team. It is, what we need to do is take the problem, and Simon knows all about this, take the problem that people are facing and turn it into a question that we can actually brainstorm against. So if your business is struggling, if people are cancelling all their work with you, then how do we change that to a question? And the question might be, how might I generate a new stream of income? How might I still be of service to the same customers? How might I sell the same customers a series of new products or new services that would actually benefit them in this downturn? But we need to take the problem, turn it into a question, and then brainstorm ideas. And from there, what I asked Kez to do was every single day to think of 5 to 10 answers to that question. And what that does is train your brain to look for solutions every single day rather than looking for what's going wrong. And that for me is the biggest bit, is where's your focus? Is it focused on solving these problems and turning your business into a success? Or is it focused on what you're lacking, what you're missing, and what's going wrong in the world? Do you have any tips to help people focus on the positive and grow their business, Simon?
So yeah, I'm hoping that we've had a couple of comments that the quality of the sound is not great. I think my internet's a bit dodgy tonight, so fingers crossed it's getting better. I've just confiscated phones off screen for everyone in my house, and I've locked my kids in the cupboard. I hope that's okay with everybody. So this is also my strategy for for coping with work from home. So I guess, yeah, I think the that sentence, "you get what you focus on," is ringing in my ears. And I know that Kez Hawkins, I think it was you, Kez, that you put a comment in the group earlier on about writing down ideas every day. And I think it's just kind of affirming what you were talking about, Alan, that, getting your brain used to coming up with ideas rather than used to focusing on the problems is going to keep you in a good headspace. Second thing that's on my mind is this thing about gratitude, and I know people are talking a lot about that at the moment, but we've got a roof over our heads, we've got food in the cupboards, certainly for now anyway, and focusing on the things that we're grateful for as a starting point is a really cool way to start the day. And I think that plus this question thing, super powerful, asking much better questions. I guess the third thing on my mind, and I was chatting to Angie about this today, Angie Beeston. So the things that went through our head today was, look, let's make a list of all of the clients, the customers, the friends and family that we care about, and let's get on the phone, send text messages, make phone calls, send emails, and reach out to people without any expectation that it's going to lead to business, but asking people some questions, things like, you've been on my mind, I wanted to check in with you. What challenges are you facing at the moment, and how are you getting over them? What can I do to help you? And I think that takes us out of our own kind of predicaments and puts us in a place of going out of our way to help other people and solve problems. And I think if there's one thing that working with you over the years has taught me, Alan, that thing about, we've built a business by helping others. And as far as I'm concerned, this is business as usual for us, but the circumstances meant that that we've had to put that on steroids very, very quickly. And I guess the next step is to sort of take a stage further and go, what is it that I can do to help you right now? And how many of you asked that question in the last couple of days? And I think that will help all of us, whether it's customers in the future, whether you get ideas that from someone might gift you an idea to say, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Or actually, maybe it's just a scenario which you created. I remember our very first meeting, Alan, so for those that don't know, Alan complained about my boss in 2008, and my boss sent me to go and deal with him. I thought it was going to be a horrific meeting. And the very first thing that Alan said to me was, what can I do to help you? And it completely derailed me, because I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute, I'm here to help you because you're the one with the problem, pal. What are you doing asking me if you can help me? And I remember sort of staring at him blankly for a good 45 seconds. And we ended up building a business from that's changed both of our lives and the lives of our families. So I think if you made a list of people, if you had 10 people on your list and you said that by the end of tomorrow, you're going to call, email, ring, and text, sorry, and we'll pick up the phone, things really happen, don't they? Making the phone call and asking those kind of questions. What's going on for you right now? How can I help you? What challenges are you facing? How are you getting over them? I think that's going to spawn a whole bunch of ideas, and it's going to create a different set of connection, a deeper level of connection that is going to provide, be fruitful for us all going forward with that kind of community spirit. What do you think, Alan?
I think you're exactly right. So let's turn it into a practical action. What I would be saying to do, and is actually what we've been doing at PopUp, is pick your top 10 clients that you love working with and call them. Don't email, don't text, ring them, get on the phone, call them and speak to them and ask them what's going on, what's happening, what you can do to help, and I think chat to them. And I think the tendency, given the modern world and the tools we have with technology, is to avoid actual phone calls and text and email. And it's the phone calls that makes things happen. This is something I was particularly scared of when I was younger. I didn't like ringing people. I hated cold calling, but it's the phone call. So I would be saying to the top 10 clients, I'd be ringing them up, checking in, asking them how they are, having a chat, and then working out what I can do to help them. I think that's a fabulous action to be taken for all small business owners tomorrow. Start straight away.
So I'm just checking down the comments. We've got Suzette from Indianapolis that came to our course back in October. Suzette, it was great to see your post in the group earlier on. Suzette is the only person on planet Earth that managed to turn me into a human kangaroo for about 10 minutes and then get some kind of video of it. Liam has actually got that footage somewhere, and I've threatened him with his life if it escapes. But Suzette's got a fitness business. She's running fitness bounce classes with these really awesome things that you strap to your feet and you can bounce along. The message that Suzette put in our group earlier on was that straight away she's been delivering her classes online, and I think that's phenomenal, the speed at which you've been able to do that, Suzette. And I think, you know, that is, I guess, the obvious, and that's certainly something that we're working really hard on. We closed our courses in Doncaster and Bristol yesterday afternoon at 4 o'clock, and 10 o'clock this morning we were online delivering the course with Liam and Alex in Bristol, and Jack supporting KC in Doncaster. So the speed at which we can adapt and change and so on for all of us is great, and I love those businesses that have done that already. But what if the online thing isn't an option for you? What do you think on that one, Alan? Do you think we just need to find a way to do it online, or do you think there's other ways of doing this stuff?
I think it's a real challenge, because if you look in the comments, Claudia, Brucey are saying all their courses have been cancelled, all their events have been cancelled. And it's a real challenge. And it's exactly the same thing we're facing. We had an event planned with Google in New York. It would have been game-changing for us. It was cancelled. We've had all of our cash flow for the next 3 months cancelled. And all of that has gone away. And we can continue to focus on what we've lost, or we can try and figure something out. And I don't really know if it's possible. And Claudia's saying she teaches CPR and basic first aid. They're very hands-on training with mannequins. It's a challenge. I don't know what the solution is, but we need to brainstorm. So the question is, are you going to do one-to-one training? Is there a way to do it online? Is there a way to get someone, can you post them, the mannequin, and then direct them over video? There's something that you can do to build a business. I don't know what it is. We're actually in exactly the same place right now, trying to figure it out. And I think we need to figure this out together, because there's nothing we can do about it. I'm here in New Orleans. They've just locked us down for an entire month. I'm going to be trapped here till mid-April. I can get annoyed, I can get angry, I can focus on what I've lost, which is quite significant currently, or I can focus about what we can do. And I think the quicker we can change to focus on what we can do, the quicker we can make a difference in our businesses and everything else.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, like, my thought process is, I was just being triggered by Bruce. He's gone, you know, plan B, maybe there's a part-time job. There's certain industries out there that are booming at the moment, for sure. And I noticed that I was impressed with, KC sent us a picture of Brewdog. What a fantastic business that is. So they're making punk hand soap instead of beer, you know, like alcohol sanitizer gel. Like repurposing their alcohol, which is really interesting. That pivot, I didn't see that one coming. So that's super interesting. Like Brucey's gone, there's a plan B. There's always a part-time job. And I think for me, I think I'm almost unemployable now. In fact, I'm pretty unemployable, having had the the challenges and opportunities and lifestyle, albeit some pretty long hours, especially at the moment of running my own business. There's no way I'm going back. I'm always looking for other opportunities. And I think, thought process A is based on what I'm currently doing. Is there genuinely a way, if I write down 5 different ideas a day, if I reach out to 10 people a day and ask them the question, look, I need some help. How do I do this? I've beauty therapy business, like Hannah has put a post in there. My business, I'm a beauty therapist. It's a hands-on business. How do I turn that into an online? Is there another way of delivering that locally? Could I go to appointments in people's houses? If I had a cleaning regime, does that work? I think the indication is that could work at the moment. Whether that would be something that's possible in a week or two's time, I don't know, because this thing's moving so fast. So my first thought process is, how do I adapt what I'm doing now and turn it into something that is possible to deliver? And I know that Linda with the upcycle furniture, Linda, you've put a post there. I can't do my classes I normally would. I can't do those online, can I? I'd be asking myself the question, how could I turn these? How might I take this idea and repurpose it and stick it online? Is all, like Alan said earlier on, it's all about the question that we ask. If we ask the right question, we can get lots of ideas. If you say to ourselves, there's no way I can do this thing online, there's no way you can do that thing online. If you ask yourself the question, okay, how might I adapt what I'm doing to turn this into an online course or an online experience? So that's my first thought process, idea generation around the thing that you're doing. And even with Florence, God bless you, Florence. Florence is amazing. She came to our course in Paddington. Her business is a cat cafe, and she's literally just had some fantastic news about, literally within the last few weeks, about that she's been using PopUp techniques to get donations in advance. So she's opening a cat cafe with cash in the bank already. And now, of course, with all of this happening, I'm sure she's concerned, and she put the comment, it's going to be pretty tricky to open a cat cafe online, isn't it? Because that's not possible, is it? And I'm going, well, actually, I can imagine a Zoom screen with 9 to 12 boxes on the screen with owners bringing their cats for a social experience with other cat owners locally, and probably making some kind of donation to Florence's business to make that happen. I'm definitely anything is possible mindset. But I think that if we close that for a second, okay, I've explored, did what Alan and Simon said. I spent the last 2 weeks generating 100 ideas a day, and I still can't come up with a way of doing this thing online. Then we might go to plan B. And plan B for me would be, what other skills have I got? What other resources? Perhaps even more importantly than that, what do I love doing? And let's see if any of these things coincide with what's possible in the current climate. And how can I get that started without spending money, all the time that I've got, and so on. So plan A is that, am I enjoying my business enough to want to try and find a way around it, to adapt it, maybe see it online, find it a different way? Or if not that, then what else do I love doing? What are my other skills? What other resources have I got access to? What do my customers need? What do my business need? What other problems can I solve that I would have them doing and turn it into an income? Those are the two thought processes for me. I feel like I've talked to him, and I know that I've triggered a thought in Alan's mind. He does that face, which tells you he's got, there it is. And what's that you think? Is there an option in your mind, or you want to build on what I've said?
So I think quite often what happens with creativity, and you've seen this, Simon, is when you start asking the questions, people will tell you everything they can't do. And we've seen a little bit of this in the comments here on Facebook right now, is people are telling us everything that won't work, and one's focus is in the wrong place. Stop telling us what can't work, and let's explore what will work. And I know that that's challenging, because if we knew what would work instantly, we would have already said it and done it. So it's actually going to take some time, energy, creativity, and different ways of thinking to get there. but it's the focus. And it's not actually going to be Simon and I coming up with the ideas for you, although we might suggest a few things. It's going to be you coming up with the ideas and making it happen. And I think it's that focus bit. Kerry Barton has actually said, I'm a photographer. What can I do? And that's an interesting question. What can you do? Where can you go? Let's play the game now, Simon, you and I. Kerry Barton, photographer. What can she do? She could sell stock photos.
Yeah. I was chatting to my friend Adam earlier on, and Adam's a fantastic photographer. He's going, I can teach people how to use their own cameras and I can do it online. He's also going, look, I'm really good at editing photos. People could send me their pictures and I could edit them either for businesses or individuals or so on. He's also saying I could find outlets, organizations that are going to be wanting to create new marketing literature to refresh what they're doing, to change, pivot, and so on. There's lots of ways of doing that stuff. I think there's 3 or 4 potential income streams. How would you choose one?
We could teach photography. We could do layouts for businesses. I feel like this lockdown, people are going to be doing a lot more online dating. So you could take profile photos for online dating. You could teach people how to improve their online dating skills. I know there is an idea out there that we could find if we can stay focused on the positivity. Life is changing and our existing business is dead for the next 2 months. The question is, are we going to continue to focus on that or move on to something else? That's the real question. And we need to brainstorm ideas, help each other. Your first idea isn't going to be great. Your 10th idea probably won't be the one. It's the one that comes later on that goes, oh, I could do that, whatever that is. And you need to start looking at what's going around in the world right now to be able to do that. And I think we all have to do that, is to focus on what we can do, not what we can't do. And I think that's the biggest part of this creative challenge. And I think I'd love to make the statement, your business has changed. It's what do we do next? That's the key.
Alan, you triggered a couple of thoughts in my mind. The first one is every man, woman, and their dog and their cat, Florence, are doing online conferences and slides. And I was listening to and watching a webinar with one of London councils about a project that we're hopefully going to be getting involved in the next few months. And it's a 2.5-hour presentation. And boy, these councils need some help sometimes. Slide deck's more interesting. And, businesses, organizations are doing lots and lots of presentations all the time. Maybe that's an opportunity for a photographer to give them some decent photos to help liven up the presentation, because there's only so many bullet points that one man can take. And then I guess I just wanted to name check Halima. So Halima's got a business where she's been teaching people English online. She's got an Instagram channel which has got thousands of followers, 15 or 16,000. We met Halima in September last year in central London, and I think there's 2 things that I've learned from Halima. The first thing is that positivity is just the way forward. This is exactly the way to go. But there's a specific idea that she mentioned in her, which has reminded me of a business in Brighton that I met recently. So Halima said the pay it forward kind of option, and this is exactly what a restaurant. So I think Brighton's top 10 restaurant is called Chin Chin. They're actually a client of John and Corinne as well. What Chin Chin's are doing is that they are selling gift vouchers by the bucket load. So this kind of pay it forward to get cash in now. Wouldn't that be a lovely thing? If you had a business like Hannah's business, like a beauty therapy business, and you reached out to your friends and family and said, look, I'm facing a challenge at the moment because my business is an in-person kind of business. Please, can you help me? I need to reach my target of selling 10 beauty therapy sessions in advance for gift vouchers for when the bounce happens. And I know we hopefully we get the chance to talk about the bounce and what the bounce might look and feel like and when it might happen. But getting that pay it forward initiative and leveraging friends and families and customers and so on, and say, look, when the world returns to normal again, and hopefully it'll be fairly soon, wouldn't it be great if you could buy one of my beauty therapy sessions? So that sort of stuff goes through my mind as well. Alan, should we talk about the bounce?
Just before we talk about the bounce, there's a little bit here. Probably too late to talk about this now, but it's a very important one that people will need to have in their mind for next time. Stephen Murray says, I'm sure many businesses are really hurting for immediate cash flow right now, but don't forget to add value first. And Kerry Barton says, the photographer says, thank you, worrying time. I was due to open a studio. And I think there's an element here of the reason that we at PopUp, we're reacting very quickly to this, but we're not too scared because we're a saving business and we've been saving as much money as we can for all the years Simon has known. We have about a year's runway at our current spend rate to be able to survive. Most businesses aren't saving businesses and they don't have that runway. You need to react even quicker than we do and cut the costs, stop spending where you can, and then go out and sell as much as you can. And cash flow is the biggest killer of small businesses. And this is what you need to have in mind immediately, is where you can cut the costs and start to sell more. If you don't do that, there's going to be trouble. And we might have a year's runway, but I'll tell you what, that will go quickly. And I don't really want to blow the entire cash stockpile that Simon and I have worked so hard to build up just because of a virus. I want to keep growing the business, keep growing that so that we are safe and we can continue to do the mission and help people. And I think that's what we all need to do, is focus on that stuff. So Kerry Barton, do not open a studio right now and take on a monthly lease. Actually, you should be going back to them and saying, can I have the building free for 6 months? And starting there, so that when that bounce that Simon spoke about happens, then we are in a place to go from there. Because there is going to be a bounce. And if there's not, well, we're all screwed anyway, never mind. But if there is the bounce, then we just need to get ourselves in that position ready to take advantage of it. Because after every winter, there is always a spring where green shoots come and growth comes back. I don't know how long the winter's going to last, but there are green shoots coming and it's being in that position ready for that. The challenge is when you're in the deepest, darkest parts of winter, it doesn't feel like spring's actually ever going to come. But I guarantee it always does. Always does.
So the thought that you just triggered in my mind there, I've got a call with a guy called Jamie Smart, who's a Sunday Times best-selling author. He's written a book called Clarity and another book called Results. The stuff that Jamie talks about is based on 3 principles. And it's really, really interesting because it just helps people just to breathe and go, look, if I can get rid of the fog here and just breathe and just relax and rest and just quieten the mind down for a minute, we are built for creativity. We are built to come up with new ideas. What we need to do is to be kind enough to ourselves to allow the headspace to make it happen. And I think there's a little reframe that I just realized that I did on Monday afternoon to change my mindset, as our events business was a house of cards on Monday afternoon. The reframe that I did was I flipped from, oh no, what's all this stuff that's happening? This is really, really scary. Blimey, what does that mean for our business? That was my first reaction. And then within a couple of hours, I was saying to myself, oh, wow, what a fantastic opportunity. I think we can come up with some new ideas. I think we can recreate our business. I think we can do this and do that and so on. And in reality, nothing in the world changed. In fact, if anything, it was a little bit worse. But the way that I reacted to it massively shifted. And that's what gave me the energy and confidence to start generating ideas. So I think there's something in there about reframing what's going on And rather than saying this is a nightmare and getting sucked into people saying, oh, just, if I hear the words unprecedented one more time, in fact, I think I need to speak to Jack. I think I've got a coronavirus bingo sheet idea, which we're going to create tomorrow and put out on social media. And, we can wallow in that stuff, but for me, it's about reframing it and going, okay, the world's shifted. It's probably never going to be the same again. I can create anything I want, couldn't I? I got a chance to reinvent myself. I wouldn't get 2 or 3 months at home to learn new skills, have access to an unlimited number of training courses, opportunities, customers, and ideas online. If we haven't built another website by the end of the week or figured out how to do it, then hopefully we've paid someone else to do it for us. Now is the time. What do you think about that, Alan? Is it the right time? Do we do it now?
So actually, that reframe, I learned a lesson very early on. I was a photocopier salesman and I hated doing it. I felt like, well, it's a whole nother story. I was a photocopier salesman, and when you first join as a photocopier salesman, they give you the bad accounts that no one else wants to get you started. So I got given all these bad accounts who had all the problems and hated our company and told to fix them. And then I'm there going, okay, I really don't want to do this. Every time I rung one of them, they were angry at me. And my manager at the time said to me, you do realize that the biggest opportunities lie in the biggest problems. And I looked at him and went, no, they don't. The biggest amount of hassle lies in the biggest problems. All I'm getting is crap and shouted at. I don't believe you. And he said, well, here, I'll show you. So we booked an appointment. We went together to this meeting. We listened to this lady's problems. We apologized for what had happened before. And we actually did a deal to sell her a new photocopier that actually did what she wanted and get rid of the old one. And we had to listen to a lot of stuff. We had to go through a lot of problems, but there was a massive opportunity. And that then made me think, oh, angry customers can become your biggest fans. The biggest problems are where the biggest opportunity and money is available to you. And it really shifted my mindset. And ever since then, every time there's a challenge or problem, it probably takes me about 5 minutes of whinging about the problem to then be able to go, okay, there's something here for us. And Simon and I were brainstorming yesterday. I think there is an opportunity for PopUp right now to change the game of how we teach entrepreneurship, to bring it more online, to start doing more of this. Who knows what it is, but there is a huge opportunity. And I think what I'd like everyone who's watching, Heather, Angie, Hannah, Kerry, all of the people that are watching, Chris, I want you to think there is an opportunity right now for you somewhere in this. It is a shit show, but there is an opportunity for you. We just need to find it. And I think that reframe from that photocopier manager has stuck with me ever since.
So there you go. You heard it on the Pop-Up Business School live with Alan and Simon, photocopiers and shit shows. That sounds to me like an album title. Can we make that album, Alan?
Are you just going to go back to being a musician, Simon?
I might grow my hair again. Yeah, I did have a text with the guys tonight. I think we should just write songs. And actually, that reminds me, Kerry's just put a post in there, which is, he's gone write a book with a number of exclamation marks. And you know what? There is that old saying, isn't there? There's a book in all of us. And I went to a book launch recently of someone you know very well, Alan. So John Carter's written a book about how to make your company famous. And John and Corinne do some incredible work for us. And their business is all about storytelling. And I was chatting to one of our clients up in Bolton yesterday, and we were talking about every single person that comes to our course. We meet so many different people from lots of different walks of life, and many of you guys are in here in this thread. You've all got brilliant stories. We've all got brilliant stories. Yeah. And actually, I bet any one of us could sit down, and even if we're not great with grammar, there's apps to help us do that. There's Teresa, who messaged me tonight, who spotted lots of spelling mistakes and typos in a couple of our blogs articles. There's people like Teresa out there that are fantastic at this stuff, you know. Or you can use the button on the phone, which Alan and I use all the time for voice typing. Just click that button and start talking, start telling your story, and then send it to someone with good grammar to edit it. And hey, presto, you've got an ebook within a few days. You know, I actually think this is a really cool idea. And I've been thinking that too, once we've got our head above water over the shit show that Alan described over the next couple of weeks. You know, Alan, you and I have been talking about writing a book for ages. I think wouldn't it be fun if we, over the next couple of months, and then we blogged about the process and what we learn along the way? I think that might be quite fun to do. I recognize that I've said this out loud now, which means that we have to do it. And a couple of other things, Francesco, hopefully you're still watching from, like, Francesco is one of Aberdeen's most entrepreneurial people. And it was fantastic to meet him. And I hope you're doing okay up there, Francesco. You're involved in food businesses and so on. So no doubt you're trying to figure out what to do. Looking at some of the folk on here, there's some brilliant ideas buried in here. You just have to go through this thread and look at these comments and go, oh, what could that mean for my business? And my favorite thing so far is the world's first cat conference, which I think, Florence, let's talk about that. I'm sure we can help you figure that one out. And people say, you know, Peter's got a really good comment, a couple of similar comments around, is the winter, you know, let's sow the seeds. Vicky's put that in there as well. Oh, Peter's mentioned that there is potential grants for small businesses coming out. And I know as part of that package of measures, the government have released some loans and some grants, as you know, to support people. I think it was one thing that I'm so grateful for is that don't have to service any loans in PopUp. That you know, that everything that we've created is through sales. So, and I know it's tough times, but for those grants, I think the date was the 20th of March. So we will post something on our website as soon as we find out what the eligibility criteria for those are going to be, because maybe there's a cash incentive that we can go and grab hold of that might ease some of the pain. So Alan, it's 10 to 10. I think we plan to finish at 10. Should we just talk for a few minutes about, I'd love to get your views on the bounce and what the bounce means.
Before we do that, can we talk about before the bounce just for a moment?
No.
Well, tough. I'm going to talk about it.
Can we talk about that horse, that giant horse with a naked person riding it behind your head? Let's talk about that first.
With my head.
Let's talk about before the bounce.
Chad actually wrote in the comments, hi Chad, that it's about weathering the storm. And I think if you think about this in seasons, as we said earlier, this is the winter period. And I'm going to use lots of metaphors and analogies because hopefully it'll make sense. During this period, I think it's about preparing for what comes next. So let's say we've done all the brainstorming, all the work, we can't actually figure out how to make our business grow now. It's about preparing for that bounce. So what skills can we improve? What can we do? What can we learn? What can we grow? How can we get ready for the next part? And I think, I'm not sure how many of the people listening have heard of the analogy of sharpening the saw from Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But this is the time to sharpen your saw. And what that means is he talks about 2 woodsmen in the forest. One is continuously sawing his logs and continually sawing the logs. The other is sat there and he spends most of his time sharpening the saw, and then goes over to the log and saws through it really quickly. And I think that is, if you've got time right now, spend it sharpening your saw. How can you learn negotiation skills, sales skills? Can you tune up your website and get that to a level that when that bounce hits, you are the company that's out there doing it? And I think I want to sharpen my saw and our business saw so that when the bounce comes back up and that wood is there in front of us, we can go out and chop it. And I think that's the bit. We've got time. Most education is unbelievably free online now. There's our stuff. There's a huge amount out there. Books are cheap. Matt Eastley says he's sharpening so many saws right now. Matt, if you have a woodworking business, that's an inappropriate joke.
Why is it that as soon as you start talking about chopping wood, then Matt Esley arrives on the thread? That's perfect timing, Matt.
Yes, let's not have too many wood jokes right now. Kez says
Kate Wood has just replied, "You couldn't make this up." Perfect, Kate.
Kate, I am promising not to stop you. But Kez has said she's doing an Excel and internet marketing course. Centre of Excellence are offering all their courses cheap. There are so many skills you could learn. The question I would be answering is, what skills are going to be important for me to build the life I want and take advantage of the bounce that is coming?
Beautiful. I don't want to talk about the bounce anymore. You put me off.
Well, I think so. Can we actually encourage our audience now, the people who are listening right now, write down that question. What skills do I need to develop to create the life I want and take advantage of the bounce when it comes? And I would like you to actually start journaling about this and writing about it and work out what skills they are. Because I think one of the things that makes me different than a lot of people is when I read a book, I copy out the questions, follow the exercise, and do the work. Most people don't do that. So what I would really want people to do is write down that question, journal about it, come up with the top skills and take action. Sometimes it's great to listen to me and Simon and be inspired and have some energy and feel positive. But if you don't do anything about this afterwards, nothing changes. My challenge to you is write down that question now and start working on it.
Beautiful. I love that. There's a couple of comments that have come in. So I think Peter wants to sharpen the chisel instead of the saw. I think you're going to have a conversation with Matt about that. You can have a chisel off or a wood off, if that doesn't sound a bit weird.
Video, I think, is how to sharpen the chisel. That's Matt's most successful video.
I think that's brilliant. And perhaps, Peter, you can get involved in that too. Stephen's asked a really generous question. Yeah, that's great. So Stephen Murray, thank you, Stephen. He said, Alan and Simon, what can everyone watching do today to help PopUp? And I think, you know, the mission of PopUp has always been to change the way that business is taught. And we need to get the message out there. And I think what's happened over the last couple of days is suddenly we've all realized that, blimey, people need help more than ever, don't they? I think there's two things that I would love. Number one is, what is it that you need from us? Like, tell us, you know, keep the conversations going, keep asking us questions, keep giving us ideas about how we could continue to support everybody, and share with those people that you think might benefit from, you know, a different way of thinking at the moment. And I think, you know, we've got some really exciting stuff planned, but the fundamental reason that we're doing it is that we just want to help. And we know that we're facing the challenges, we're inventing it in real time. And if anyone saw my Facebook Live yesterday, you'll know that that was being invented in real time. I don't particularly enjoy this stuff. Alan's been trying to get me to do videos for years, and I sort of did a few. I remember the very first video that Alan made me do, and yes, he did make me do it. It was to promote our very first event in Weston-super-Mare in 2012. He made me sit on his old cream leather sofa, and we sat next to each other. He stuck his camera, or I think it's a video camera. I think we were showing off in those days. We had a video camera, and we looked a little bit like the Odd Couple. And you know, the video that I did last night and the one before, and I've done a couple of videos for the team, that is way out of my comfort zone personally. And you know, I over the years I've not particularly enjoyed that stuff, but I think what I'm doing now is recognizing that the world has changed and things are different. And if we want to change the way that we make money, if we want to protect the way that we make money, we've got to change the way that we think. And if it feels a bit scary, that's good, because it means you're doing it right. Keep doing more of that. And I think that would be my sort of closing thoughts, Alan. What's on your mind? What
My
are your
closing
closing thoughts?
is everything you want in life is outside your comfort zone. Everything. I don't care what it is. If you want to build a successful business, if you want to earn money, if you want to survive, all of this stuff is outside your comfort zone. And Simon half thanks me for it and half is not thankful for it when I push him outside his comfort zone. And I'm constantly pushing myself outside my comfort zone in different ways to grow and learn. And this stuff is going to be uncomfortable for you all. All I want to say is, let's be uncomfortable together. Because if we all acknowledge it and go through it together, life is better. And I know that sounds weird, looking at you all out there and saying, I'd like to get uncomfortable with you. But I think it's important. And I think we'll actually make progress if we do that. Chris Jones says Simon loves to strut his stuff on stage, but is scared of a video camera. We all have our weak. Mine was making phone calls, and I've had to overcome that. And everything you want in life is outside your comfort zone. You just got to work out what it is, what's making you uncomfortable, and let's get uncomfortable together, baby.
I don't quite know what to say after that. I'm very glad that Kim, hi Kim in Bolton. By the way, the support that you've been giving people in a group, Kim, has been phenomenal. So please keep doing that. It's absolutely brilliant. You've been encouraging people and giving some advice and sharing some of your own experiences, and that's what this stuff is all about for sure. Kim's put 2 emojis of frogs. It's definitely about eating the frog, isn't it? If you think, I think about Brucey for a second. Brucey, I know that you weren't that excited about making a website when you came to PopUp a couple of years ago, but your magic stuff is just phenomenal, and there's absolutely no reason why close-up magic on Instagram, for example, or TikTok would absolutely fly at the moment, because you've got, you're phenomenal in front of a camera, and every single one of us in this group could turn our hand to this stuff, but for many of us it's a bit scary. But as Alan said, sharpening the sword, now's the time to learn those skills. So look, it's been exciting. Halima hates selling on the phone. We're going to deal with that, Halima. Alan, look at Alan's face now. I can remember Alan really down in the early days when I first met him, about people putting the phone down on him and selling and so on. We've got a really cool reframe about that's going to make you excited to pick up the phone, and what a impact that's going to have on your business for sure. So look, we've got lots more stuff coming. We're getting our head above water. We're finishing our courses in Doncaster and Bristol this week, and by the end of this week, we'll have much more of a plan in place. Actually, some of the team have been selling today. James has been on the phone today. I think I can get James to talk to you, Halima. I think you'll learn a lot from him about picking up the phone. He's been sending emails and calling people today, and that's already having a massive impact. And I'm excited to announce something next week. Fingers crossed we get something over the line. But over the coming days and weeks, we're going to be posting much more content. It's going to be much more joined up and specifically solving the problems and challenges, giving people inspiration, information, and practical help to get through this period together. But we have got all the answers. Like I say, we're creating ourselves. We'd like it to start a conversation, and we're as excited and interested in the ideas that everyone's got here as we are that we're creating. So thank you very much to everybody for joining us on this and making us feel like it's been worthwhile doing. I don't know about you, but I'm hugely inspired from seeing the comments and having this conversation tonight. I'll enjoy it again.
I am hugely inspired as well, especially as Chad says, "Let's Get Uncomfortable Together" is definitely a song title. Simon, if you could produce that for our next Facebook Live, I think you should bring your guitar on and start singing "Let's Get Uncomfortable Together." That's definitely it. Jack Marsh says, "When are we going to go live again?" Yeah, I think so. For me, the request from all the people watching right now is, we want you to drive the content. What do you want from us? What are your biggest challenges? What can we do? Please send those to us. we'll make a list and we'll go live again. Are we committing to do this again in a couple of days, Simon?
Yeah, definitely. Let's do another live session by the end of the week. I think we may be doing one on Instagram as well, but let's definitely do a Facebook Live before the end of the week. We'll come back to everybody, we'll post something on the page and in our groups to let everyone know when that is. There's some super entrepreneurial people in this group. I've just seen Danny. So Danny lives up the road from us. He's got Carter's Cafe in Lutterworth. He's closed the doors. He's turned the car park back into a drive-through. He's doing home delivery service. You know, it's that sort of entrepreneurial spirit and, you know, quick turnaround that every single one of us can learn from and be inspired on. So, Danny, looking forward to ordering lunch from you this week. Yes, let's do another Facebook Live.
Cool. Russell Moran says, any marketing books to read? Read The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. It's phenomenal. And last thought, get out there and do it. Just, if there's one thing we could ask, get outside of your comfort zone, make it happen. This is the time to take action. We love you all. Send us some messages. And we will keep broadcasting from Lutterworth from Simon and New Orleans from me with the random horse picture in the background. Tell us what you need. We are here to help you. And yeah, I love you all. Stay safe. I
love this. So yeah, thank you very much to Jack as well, Jack Aling has been behind the scenes, making all this possible and helping me in particular deal with technology. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe. From me, photocopiers and shit show will be my main takeout from this, and look forward to speaking soon.
Mine is let's get uncomfortable together.